Hello, good morning everybody. Just getting set up on the Instagram. And I'm gonna move to a different account. I don't know why I'm singing to you. I apologize. Nobody, who wants to hear Michael Cass sing early in the morning? No, nobody. All right. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Now we're on Instagram and Facebook. Good morning, good morning. Just wanted to check in as we get started. I'm trying this new thing on Facebook. So something I noticed yesterday, just kind of walking around my neighborhood, is that it felt weird. It felt, the best way I can describe it is that it felt like if you've ever been in the desert before a storm, there's that kind of dampened, static-y energy that comes up. And it very much felt like that. I remember last week walking around, there was a kind of ebullience in the neighborhood. Everybody was saying hi to each other and smiling and yesterday it felt different. It felt like the moment before, frankly, all hell breaks loose. And it kind of freaked me out. I'm not going to lie. So I'm wondering what it's like where you are, and what your experience of this moment is as things evolve, as we find out that we're probably going to be sheltering in place or safer at home or whatever for a while. And as all of the predictions that people made, that the epidemiologists made, virologists made, are coming true. Not that we doubted it, but there's something different about having it actually hit. So just curious to know where you're at. Yeah, Linda, exactly. Calm before the storm. So with that as sort of the framing and the experience I'm sitting in at the moment, we will turn to our friend Hafez. A poem every day. March 31st. Well, this poem is Companion for Life. Our union is like this. If you feel cold, I would reach for a blanket to cover our shivering feet. If a hunger comes into your body, I would run to my garden and start digging potatoes. If you asked for a few words of comfort and guidance, I would quickly kneel by your side and offer you a whole book as a gift. If you ever ache with loneliness so much you weep, I would say, here is a rope, tie it around me. Hafez will be your companion for life. Whew, I love that so much. Especially right now, and it reminds me of another poem by Wendell Berry, I think, called A Ritual to Read to Each Other. And one of the images he uses in that poem is of a string of elephants leading each other, the trunks intertwined with the tails. I believe in that poem, as in this one, the implication is that the time we are living in is very dark and uncertain. And so it's almost like there's wildness and the unknown, and like the image that's coming up is shards of glass all around us, whatever. And the way we get through it is by being companions to each other and leading each other and trusting that. And also, I think it's about staying connected with ourselves and what's true for us at any given moment. Because it's so easy to like spin off into panic or spin off into future scenarios or regrets. If only I had done this and I should have done that. And God, I always wanted to visit that really cool bar and now I don't drink, but maybe you, I don't know. The point is it's really easy to get removed from this moment. So maybe let's explore that in our little grounding, it's so adorable when I say our little grounding and meditation this morning. So thank you for being here. If you're joining late, no worries. You can always go back and watch this again on the Facebook and on the on my website, storyandspirit.org/meditations. All right, so sit in a way that feels comfortable to you, or stand or lay down. And let's bring some attention to the breath. And just being very aware with each inhale that this is you inhaling. And very aware with each exhale that this is you exhaling in this moment. Good. And if you want to, you can invite the breath a little bit more deeply into your body. So really inviting the bottom of the belly to inflate with each breath. Getting oxygen all the way into our core. And gently releasing it. Consciously elongating the inhale, creating more space, and elongating the exhale. It's almost as if we can create more time by doing this, like dilating each second. And everybody take a nice deep breath in. And release with a gentle sigh. Good. And with that, we'll just bring some more attention to the body, allowing gravity to become more present and even more real, so you can feel yourself being pulled down towards the earth. You can let yourself feel the weight of your shoulders. And as you do, you may feel those places in your shoulders where you've been holding tension, those places that are resisting gravity. And feeling the weight of your head on top of your neck. And we'll just do a light scan of the body, starting right above the crown of the head and working your way down with a gentle, compassionate attention. Taking this opportunity to notice what's going on in your body this morning. Any places that feel open and alive and vital, any places that feel constricted or tired or heavy. Working your way down through the muscles of the jaw and the throat and the chest. And as we do this, practicing not labeling these things that we notice and not ascribing value to them. So if I detect a constriction in my shoulder, it's not pain from an old injury, it's just a constriction with no story. Working your way down through the chest and the belly, the hips, the thighs, the calves, all the way down to the very bottom of your feet. Good. And just take a nice deep breath in. And release. And now we're going to practice just noticing what's real and present and true for us at different levels of our being. And so since we're already focused on the body, let's start with just physically. For the moment, see if you can create almost like a hermetically sealed container for your attention to focus only on physical sensations. Just noticing each one without getting attached to it. And noticing that as you notice each sensation, it may shift. So I'm noticing, for example, that my ear itches, and instead of responding to it, I'm just noticing it. And as I notice it, it intensifies. And now I shift my attention to the fingernail of my right pinky and to my shoulder. So just practicing noticing what's present and real for you physically. And you may notice other stimuli come in, like a thought or an emotion. And for now, as you notice those, just set them aside because we'll get to them in a moment. Good. And now we'll leave the physical and we'll shift our attention to the emotional. And this can be a little bit tricky because emotions are composed often of physical sensations as well as thoughts. But just see if you can practice noticing what is present for you emotionally. And as you do this, you may discover that your emotions live in your body. Or you may notice that for you this morning, your emotions live more in your mind. And one way to work with these emotions is just see them as a tide moving or a river current. So instead of staying with any one emotion and labeling it with a story, just notice, oh, that's an emotion, and let it move. It can be really wonderful how quickly the tide shifts or the current eddies, if that's what currents do. And now leaving the emotional, knowing we can always return to it, we'll turn our focus to our mental being, to our thoughts. So noticing how our thoughts are showing up this morning. Is it as images? Is it as a list? Is it stories? And as we did with the emotions, practicing not getting attached to any thought, but just letting them rise and fall and flip and transform. And finally, we'll leave our thoughts for the moment, knowing we can always return. And we'll turn our attention to our spiritual being, what is present and true for us spiritually. And each of us gets to define that word however we'd like. The way I define it is my sense of connection with something greater than myself. And as I shift my attention to my spiritual being and what's present for me spiritually, I'll share that I feel this morning a sense of expansion from my head, almost like it's just opening like barn doors. And then practicing not being attached to that and seeing what may shift. And then finally, allowing ourselves to be present at all four of those levels, because we are existing at all of those and more at any moment. So physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual truth and presence and what's real for you now. And if you want to, you can even put your hand over your heart. And gently open your eyes and just see what it's like to look out at the world from that place of whatever connection and presence and reality and truth you connected with. And it feels like if we take just those few minutes to become present with what's true for ourselves, then we are much more able to provide companionship, not just to ourselves, but to others, like it says in the poem from today. So that's what I'll take out into my day. And the question that I'm going to hold for our archetype cards, to close every morning with a pull from the archetype deck. If there's a question that's alive for you, feel free to hold it in your heart or your mind or your body or your spirit. But the question I'm going to hold is, how can I connect with deeper presence and deeper levels of connection and truth, so that I can provide support for myself and also for others in my world who may need it. And the card that wants to... Man, this deck is so good. I think we've had this one before, but Aletheia is the card, and Aletheia is the archetype that embodies truth. Yeah, Linda, this is the Wild Unknown Archetype deck by Kim Krantz. It's my favorite. So Aletheia is the card today, which is hilarious because I asked, how could I connect with greater truth, and I got the card that means truth, which is like the Ouroboros. It's just like a snake eating its own tail. All right, let's see what the Aletheia has for us. LXX VII. Almost there. Hang in there with me, friends. All right, here we go. Aletheia, truth. Our soul recognizes the truth. When someone speaks it, a cool wave of relief washes over the room, and all the facts and figures in the world fall by the wayside. Such is the power of Aletheia. It has an undeniable resonance that goes beyond the rational. We can also recognize Aletheia by its contagiousness. When we hear someone speak the truth, we see the truth within ourselves and are more likely to tell our own story. The Aletheia card requires us to step toward an act of truth. This might look like a conversation, a gesture, a poetic act, or a ritual that honors the unveiling of what's been concealed. Reclaiming your own truth is a way to reclaim your vital energy, health, and sense of belonging in the world. Truth has its own wings, set it free. When light, clarity, revelation, and disclosure. When dark, distortions, gaslighting, and excuses. And I'll post this in the comments to this thing. What immediately came up for me today, and that is not just this idea of finding our inner truth, but in sharing truth with each other. I recently had a conversation with someone, and something just felt off. It felt tense and weird, and as we created space to allow that weirdness and tension to unfold, like instead of being reactive towards it, just kind of creating space around it, then we were both able to connect with a deeper level of being with each other that allowed us to speak true things. And as soon as we did that, it felt like the entire room brightened and got bigger. And I think that's the power that in these times truth has. So if we're feeling, or if I'm feeling tense and constricted, I think the invitation for me today is to sit with that tension and that constriction without judgment and allow it to reveal the truth underneath, trusting that as that truth is revealed, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, it will create an opening and a lightness. So hopefully you'll find the same thing. We're here every morning at 7:30 a.m. on the Facebook Live and on the, whatever that is, if you're on Instagram, on the Instagram Live. And much more to come. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for being here and watching this, whether it's live or less live. And see you tomorrow. Thanks.